around which you're mobilizing, because I think that's really got a huge, that really affects what strategies are available to you. I mean, and you know, part of the reason why I stopped trying to organize within a party structure was that it's a inherent feature of a party to a certain extent to be lacking those feedback loops, at least as they're, you know, constructed in contemporary world. So, you know, I think in terms of trying to figure out, you know, how do you build a base that's actually able to shift power, you have to be realistic about what kind of structure you're organizing within. And, you know, in the case of the Muslim Brotherhood, they had this mobilizational identity. People felt connected, that they could organize under incredibly difficult circumstances.
Let's open it up to everybody out here. Nasreen?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Thank you. Thank you. That was really interesting. Okay, it's on. Okay, so thank you for that. Very interesting. I have a couple of questions. The first one to you. Sorry.
Phil?
Phil. You said we're at the intersection of organizing and mobilizing. What does that mean? What is at the intersection, and how does it translate itself in reality? Like, if I look at your organization and your effort, what's the images I'm seeing of both? And the second question to Serja. I read your Canvas guide. I'm a fan of it. It's a really good document. It's very helpful in the different chapters. And I also know about how you were promoted with the April 6th movement. My question to you, looking at the model you present and teach and spread, what would you say is its challenge? Where does it not fail you, but where is it weak? And it's important to tell that, I think, to the people who are following it. Just for us to realize, you, the authors, the experience, think it's weak in that dimension. You know what? I better not blame you for an action that I'm taking. You warned me. So what is it? And the last one, sorry, to you, Arthur. The thing is, the point about the Muslim Brotherhood, they were very organized. And you said it was very difficult to organize and invest in building leadership. So I don't exactly get it. What is the difficulty? Building teams? Or tolerating some tactical failures? Or what's so difficult specifically? Okay, thanks.
Phil?
Sure. So we're continuously sort of defining and redefining 350.org. We've been doing it for the last 5 or 6 years, and every year it seems like a different fight presents itself that lets us redefine ourselves in some way. I'll just use the Keystone Pipeline example. I don't know how many folks know about it, but there's a pipeline that's proposed from Canada to the Texas coast that would bisect the United States and ship really dirty tar sands oil from Canada to Texas, where it would be put on tankers and shipped across the world to be burned. We wanted to stop it. Nearly every environmental group in the country had been wanting to stop it for the last 2 or 3 years, but in the environmental movement, we've relied too much on experts and charts and graphs and science and official testimony, and not enough on narrative and storytelling and raw human emotion and mobilization. And so we saw that as a really important moment to not just mobilize and get people to get arrested. I could take it or leave it. Like, I'm not hot to trot on civil disobedience in that way. But I think in that particular case, we wanted to use it as an opportunity to demystify civil disobedience for the environmental movement and a broader community concerned about climate change. So over the course of 2 weeks, every single night before people got arrested, we would run trainings on strategy and civil disobedience tactics, teach people how to do it not just the next day, but also when they went home, and provide them with a network, of those 300 people who were going to get arrested on that day, or 100 people, it sort of varied each day, so that they could go home and have this network to support them. So it wasn't just like we were mobilizing just to get people arrested, but part of building up the political force to actually stop the pipeline or delay it was training people and providing people with an outlet to continue to do organizing in their communities when they got back. That's what I mean by sort of the full package of both mobilization, but also providing tools and empowerment for people to continue movement building and organizing when they get home.
And did that, well, just before your follow-up question, did that also lay foundation across the country for targeted political mobilization?
Yeah, absolutely. So even without us centrally asking people to do anything, for example, in Seattle, people who had gotten arrested at the White House went home. 2 months later, they went to the OFA, the Obama for America office, with a team of 100 people and asked the very fearful campaign canvas office director what he thought about the Keystone Pipeline and what his boss thought about the Keystone Pipeline. And that sort of spread across the country. And that was, by design, not led by us centrally, but it was because we provided the inspirational moment and the really sort of emotional sort of anchoring of being arrested with all these other people, and the tools that they could go back home and feel like they were empowered and had the skills to go do these actions.
And perhaps the target.
And the target, which was really easy. It was Barack Obama.
It's really interesting because we heard this morning about the Dreamers also discovering something quite similar. Soja, you want to respond to?
Yes, I would say that the biggest strength of our model is that we made, if there is any contribution we ever made to it, and I mean it's starting from Gene Sharp and his very important academia book, we made nonviolent struggle user-friendly. It's very easy for people to go through it and kind of use it in field. The biggest weakness is the methodology of the knowledge transfer, and because you're talking about a closed societies, because we are talking about a limited number of people who spread this knowledge, all we can do is do workshop with limited time of people within limited amount of time. So where we really want to go is go online and make some deep analysis. Like, you know, there's the whole chapter in this is about the strategic estimate and understanding how would you defeat Assad, for example, on the field of social non-cooperation, because his wallet grows thin. But in order to get there, you need a lot of time and a lot of people, and you can't achieve it, especially because you work with the groups in the midst of struggle. One replacement for this, the reason why it was efficient in Serbia and, for example, in Egypt, was that these people were capable to organize, to use these tools, to organize hundreds of their members to discuss this among themselves. Don't forget that we are working with 20 people at a time, which excludes the huge part of society and also a huge part of ideas. So the way it is spread should be more, spready friendly. Kind of, I mean, if we can reach more people and if we can give them tool to reach more people, we will pick more brains and avoid a lot of mistakes.
And a place where distance learning can make a contribution as well.
The question was about the model itself. Like in the 6th of April, some of them said that they didn't run for elections. I told you this yesterday night. They didn't run for elections because also you guys advised them not to run for elections, which is not true. But I'm saying that maybe the model is, and that's maybe what I think, and I'm imposing it, does not support organizing and presenting a leader to the future transitional period. So if you were to add something to the model you present, would it be that they work later to bring those new leaders and run for the political process or run in the transitional period?
I don't know where did you take it, but we never advised them neither to run of the elections or not to run to the elections. This is not the thing I would do it. We would never advise them what to do because we give them tools to find what they want to do. Every struggle is different. In some cases, you have political structures, even bad, which you can use as a transitional leadership. In some cases, like Egypt, it would be, I mean, my opinion is it would be the good idea to have a youth party because you have so many young voters. But we would really restrain from telling them what to do because, I mean, the worst thing, one of the first things they learn is never listen to the foreigners. If they give you specific advice, they would be very wrong. I don't have an idea what will work in, Nantes, France, because I've never been there.
We should up to the next question.
Yes, so the question was, why was it so difficult to organize? One, it's within the campaign, it was just because of time constraints. So you don't have the time to build all the the structure. And the second difficulty was more profound. It's that we were within a very strong old hierarchical party, which was one of the reasons why it was strong. But on the other hand, this party really had absolutely no reason to open itself to new leaders. So that's why it was so difficult to change the culture.
Makes a lot of sense. Let's see. Let's go. Jesse, Tamar, Bill, Matt. Oh, Dave. I'm sorry. Sorry, Dave.
So, that's fine.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, good. We'll come back around.
It seems to me that there's...
Yeah, we just, Sergio just made a suggestion. I think it's a good idea if we hear all the questions, and then we have an opportunity to respond. I think that would be great. Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, it seems to me that there's something about, just thinking about the Occupy stuff a little bit, which I had an opportunity to be involved in mostly in Boston, but there's something about risk that is inspirational to people, real risk, not like pretend risk, but real risk, where like we get arrested and then we walk around back and they take the handcuffs off, but something about, at the same time, risk seems to be an impediment to broadening participation, or at least a challenge to broadening participation, and I think one of the things that's interesting about the Occupy movement or worth thinking about is what kind of power did we build when we did that work, and what role does risk play in all of that, and what people do or don't do, and how it inspires people. And I mean, we should have had a panelist from the Tea Party here to talk about, because there's something interesting that the Tea Party did, which actually also created power, because they've had a tremendous impact. They've actually made real change. They've had the power to make real change in real situations. So I'm not sure where the question is in that, but like, how do you have risk at the same time you broaden participation to inspire people? So.
Okay, I'm sorry I don't remember, but one of you said, I never work with coalitions, and my entire maddening life is with coalitions, and I wish someone would say more about that.
Dave.
A friend of mine wrote a thing called Coalitions, Threat or Danger. So I'd like to talk to you about that offline. I would like to thank you for raising the distinction and the clarity of distinction between organizing and mobilizing. And I would also like to, with all due respect, question the premise of the panel that it's versus. I think the clear answer is it's always both. You know, it's like James Dean said, what are you rebelling against? What do you got? We need the moment of mobilization as soon as we can make it happen. But if we don't have the machine of organization before, during, and after, collecting the harvest is almost impossible. So the both and, I'd like to comment if you would like, but thank you.
That's good. That's helpful. Matt?
Yeah, should I use a mic or? Yeah, it's funny that you said harvest, because I like to use a farming metaphor for this question, that actually mobilizing can feel like harvest moments. And the problem, like with Occupy, is this on? Yeah. Okay. The problem with like Occupy is it's like if you it's like showing up at a farm without knowing anything about farming at the harvest, and after you're harvesting things, you're like, this is so delicious, it's awesome. Why hasn't anyone thought of this before? And then when people start suggesting to plant seeds and to water the soil, you're like, oh, that's stupid, that's reformist, you know, we don't need to do that shit. And that's been some of the challenge, I know, with Occupy. But this comment is with Occupy as the example, but the question is for anyone. You know, I think one of the most significant things about the mobilizing moment for Occupy was how it became this unifying kind of empty signifier, this thing uniting a previously fractured left, at least in a really tenuous way. And the organizing transition seemed to be, well, how do you get all those groups paying attention now to have asks, to go kind of to bat in their own constituency, instead of the ask being what it was, which made sense for a moment, come down to the park. So that, I guess what I'm getting at is that transition from that mobilizing moment to that organizing moment, which seems also to have been such a challenge in Egypt. Yeah.
And last question down here, Johnny.
Yeah, my question, I don't know if my question is awkward or if I feel awkward in asking it, but I'm delighted to hear about Dr. King, to hear about Gandhi, to hear about all of those wonderful things that's happening now, quote, across the world, to hear about how you're going into various countries, etc.